Hello, Simon.
Hello.
It's very nice to have you here today at the British Council.
It's a pleasure to be here. I've been invited by the British Council and the British Embassy. Come here to contribute to the European Literature Night.
And we're going to be talking about your latest book, Prague Spring. I wanted to know, did you come to Czechoslovakia at that time?
My eternal regret is that I didn't, and in fact, writing the book has given me an opportunity to rewrite my own history. I did actually suggest it to the friend I was hitchhiking with at the time, and he said, no, come on, we can't change our plans. And so we didn't, and we went on to Italy and Greece. And I've always regretted not doing the different thing, which would have been diverting to Prague. We were in southern Germany at the time. And so I've rewritten that for my own personal history, and also changed him into an attractive girl.
So when did your first visit to this country happen, and how did your fascination with the Czech Republic really start?
The first visit, that's easy to do. It was in 1993, and I came as a tourist, but we were driving, my wife and I, from Italy, and the natural progression driving from Italy tends to be to go through Austria, Vienna, and the first port of call, apart from Znojmo on the border, but the first place we stopped at was Brno. And I was interested in Brno because I'm a biologist by training, and I was interested in Mendel. But finding out about Mendel led me into finding out about Czechoslovakia, the Czech Republic, the history, the place, because I found it fascinating. And I really can't explain easily what it is. It's multifaceted, my interests in the country.
This year, the British Embassy is celebrating 100 years of being at the Tun Palace. Is it a place you know well?
It's a place I know not at all. But one of the things I know it much better now because I'm staying in it. But it would have been useful to have done this before writing the book, except that I'm in the process of discovering it's a novelist's knack of getting things right. And you have to go by instinct. Of course, you go by looking at pictures. You go by Google Earth, which can look right down into the embassy. You go by Google Street View. You can use a whole lot of ways, but I hadn't visited the embassy before. I
was thinking that, as a non-Czech, it must be quite daunting to publish a book such as Prague Spring, which is set during such an important time for this country.
Yeah, I was very aware of that as a problem, because it's recent. I was very much aware that I was writing about times that are known and remembered by people who are still alive, people of my sort of age. I'm not naive. My previous books have been published in Czech. I knew that this one was going to be, I was pretty sure it was going to be. And therefore one had to be aware of the fact that I had to tread carefully. I had to get things right, at least. I think everything that goes into it is historically accurate and also defensible from the point of view of the views, the ideas of the characters. There were people at the time who thought in that way.
And what's the reaction to the book been? I mean, you were here, I think, last November, and yesterday you were doing a signing here. So what's been the reaction from Czechs? It seems
very positive. There hasn't been anybody saying, look, excuse me, you've got this completely wrong. I haven't had anything like that. But the thing, of course, the factual side you can work on. Yeah. I've also managed, I think, successfully to capture the atmosphere of the times. You cannot just write a novel because you've learned how to do it. You've got to actually have that thing called imagination. You've got to be able to put yourself in people's shoes. And I think I could imagine quite well the awful nature of waking up on, I think it was the 21st of August, 1968, and discovering tanks rumbling through your streets.
Did you always want to be a writer?
When I was an 11-year-old schoolboy, I wanted to tell stories, which sounds as though, therefore, I did. Well, I did tell stories at the time. I told stories to my fellow pupils. I was at boarding school because my parents were traveling a lot in the Air Force. And I used to tell stories to my fellow pupils trapped in our little boarding school. But I enjoyed telling the stories, and I always had the intention to write. From that age, I wanted to, but I didn't publish my first novel until I was 39 years old, so I was a late starter in real terms.
And what about Czech writers? Have you read Czech writers in translation?
Yes, I have, but of course all of those recently. So I can't really claim them as an influence, except that as soon as you read Kundera, the novels that he wrote at the beginning, they're going to influence you because of the technical brilliance. Yes. Skvoretsky, I've got to get it right, and Hrabal, and yes, I've read a number of them. And of course, that's one of the fascinating things about this country, a country of 10 million people. Talk about punching above your weight in artistic terms, in terms of literature, in terms of music. I mean, it's astonishing, absolutely astonishing.
Simon, thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for inviting me.